Right now, you are probably holding a drink or thinking about one. And the last time you had a beer, a glass of wine, whatever it was, you probably just drank it and forgot about it. But what you did is one of the oldest things a human being can do. It is older than writing, older than farming, older than cities, governments, and every institution you have ever heard of. And the strangest part is not when it started. It is why your body was ready for it before anyone ever brewed a single drop. Here is something most people never think about. Your body can process alcohol, not just tolerate it. Process it through a sophisticated system that exists inside you right now. Your liver produces an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase, specifically ADH4, which breaks ethanol down into compounds your body can use or discard. This is not a workaround. It is a built-in system, precise and purposeful, designed to handle a substance that exists naturally in ripe fruit, in fermented honey, in any sugar-rich material that has been sitting long enough for yeast to find it. The natural world is full of low-level ethanol, and your body arrived in that world already equipped to deal with it. The question is not whether ancient humans drank. The question is when they figured out how to make it on purpose. In 2018, archaeologists excavating a cave near Haifa, Israel, found the answer in a place nobody expected. The cave is called Rakafet, and it was used by a group called the Natufians thousands of years ago. Inside, they found stone mortars carved directly into the bedrock. When they analyzed the residue left in those mortars, they found traces of wheat and barley that had been soaked, germinated, and left to ferment. That is beer, brewed in a cave thousands of years before agriculture existed. The Natufians were not farmers. They were still collecting wild grain by hand and hunting animals for meat. They did not grow the barley, they found it. But somehow, making beer was important enough that they figured it out first. Before bread, before crops, before settling down. Think about what that means. The conventional story says humans settled down, started farming, built villages, and then eventually discovered fermentation. Rakafet says the opposite. These people were brewing while they were still nomadic. And they were not the only ones. At Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, massive stone pillars weighing over 10 tons were arranged in circles and carved with animals, built before farming or pottery. For years, archaeologists could not explain why nomadic people would move 10-ton stones up a hill. Then they found large stone vats with chemical traces of fermented grain. People were brewing here, enough for large gatherings. This was not a home. It was a place for ritual and feasting. And this raises a question that archaeobotanist Patrick McGovern has spent decades arguing. Humans did not start farming to make bread. They started farming to make beer. Bread requires grinding, kneading, and baking. It is a complex process. Beer is simpler. You soak grain in water, leave it alone, and fermentation happens by itself. And the desire to drink together would have been a stronger motivator than the desire to eat grain in a slightly different form. If he is right, then alcohol is not something that showed up after humans settled down. It might be the reason they settled down in the first place. But here's the part that most accounts of ancient alcohol completely skip. Why was the desire to drink together so powerful? In 2017, psychologist Robin Dunbar at Oxford published research on alcohol and social bonding. His team studied groups of people in pubs across England and found that moderate social drinking increased laughter, emotional disclosure, and a sense of belonging significantly more than the same groups gathering without alcohol. Dunbar argued that alcohol acts as a social lubricant not because it lowers inhibitions in some vague way, but because it triggers the endorphin system, the same neurochemical pathway activated by singing, dancing, storytelling, and physical touch. All of these are ancient bonding behaviors. Alcohol shortcuts the process. It reaches the same result faster. For ancient humans living in small groups where trust and cohesion meant survival, a substance that accelerated social bonding was not a luxury. It was a technology. Göbekli Tepe makes perfect sense once you understand this. You do not move 10-ton stones up a hill for bread. You do it for the thing that makes 50 strangers feel like a tribe. And there is a deeper layer still. Fermentation was not just about drinks. It was the first preservation technology humans ever discovered. The same process that turns grain into beer turns milk into yogurt, cabbage into sauerkraut, fish into preserved protein that lasts months instead of days. A review in Applied and Environmental Microbiology documented over 3,000 than 500 traditional fermented foods across world cultures. Ancient humans who figured out fermentation did not just discover a drink, they discovered how to make food last. In a world with no refrigeration, this was as important as fire. By about 7000 BCE, the evidence gets precise. In a village called Jiahu in central China, archaeologists found pottery jars containing residue from a fermented drink made of rice, honey, grapes, and hawthorn berries. Chemical analysis confirmed the ingredients. This is the oldest confirmed recipe for alcohol anywhere in the world, and it was not crude. It was a blend. Multiple ingredients carefully chosen and combined. Whoever made this knew exactly what they were doing. From there, it only grew. By the time ancient Egypt came around, beer was woven into everything. Workers who built the pyramids were paid in beer, about 4 to 5 liters a day. That was their actual salary. And it made sense because Nile water was often contaminated. Beer, because of the brewing process, was cleaner. It kept people alive in a way water could not. The brewing process also added calories. For a laborer dragging limestone blocks in desert heat, beer was not just a drink, it was lunch. And then there was the sacred dimension. Beer showed up in temple offerings, burial rituals, and medical prescriptions. One single drink was doing the job of a paycheck, a water filter, a meal, a medicine, and a prayer, all from the same cup. Every time you have a drink, you are continuing something that started before anyone had a word for it. The process changed, the ingredients improved, the cups got fancier, but the impulse is the same. We drink together because something deep inside us knows that the cup is not really the point. The people around it are.